Bravo bosses. This is the Bravo Investigator podcast. I'm your host, Dana, and today we are doing a recap of Summer House. We're talking the In the City trailer, and I give you all of the updates regarding Scamanda. Let's get into it. Happy Wednesday, everyone. I hope everyone's had a great week so far. Today was an in-office day for me, and they had the audacity to keep me till 4:15. I finished at 4. Come on, people. I had to get home to podcast. Like, are you kidding me? So here I am podcasting before I'm even taking my dog for a walk because that's how important you guys are to me. But hello, happy Wednesday. Glad you guys are here. And there's lots of updates in the whole Summer House realm, so we have lots to talk about today. It's funny because there are so many other Bravo shows on right now, and I could not care less. Like, it really has overshadowed The Valley, Rory, everything else. I mean, everything else is good, but like, Scamanda is just sort of overshadowing all of that. That being said, I am sort of getting bored of it, and we haven't really gotten any like new real updates since West and Amanda released their joint statement. But that being said, there's still stuff. So I'm sure you guys saw that there was the Uber Eats ad that Lindsay and Carl did. It was pretty funny, where he's a mess, right? Which is an homage to Kyle's street interview, where he said that Carl wasn't handling this well and he's a mess, which turned into merch and all these other things. But Carl in the commercial for Uber Eats, which is already, what do you call it? A sponsor for Summer House. So it's not like it was anything new. I guess they just changed like what the subject matter was going to be or like what they were going to talk about or whatever. But Lindsay was in it, giving him a tissue and asking him if it's soft enough. LOL. Wesley Stripes, which is the zebra that Lindsay and Carl shared, was in the background, which we just heard about in the last episode, the one we're recapping today, where Carl says that like, I got Wesley Stripes and she got the garbage in the bathroom, right? So there was that. And then there was this Dumois line that came out after saying that Lindsay was at this bar or whatever called Ground Zero, and she was talking about how she's going to annihilate everyone at the reunion and that the reunion's coming up and all of this. Well, she ends up losing her mind and doing like this 3-minute video denouncing the whole thing, saying that she wasn't at Ground Zero talking about the reunion. She was asked about it once for a second. It's also our impression that the reunion is April 15th, and she clarified that it is April 23rd. So we still have a couple weeks away. And, you know, she just kind of wanted to go on and on that Dumois isn't always right, or the people who are giving Dumois stuff aren't always right, which we know, right? And that's why I don't get mad at Dumois, because it's like, I'm pretty sure it says in her profile that she doesn't verify all of her blinds. So she's just putting stuff out there that people are telling her. I'm not defending her. I'm just saying, like, if you have the caveat that you're not verifying these things and that you're just putting it out there but not verifying, I feel like you've done your due diligence. But anyways, here's some other things that we have seen from the Dumois world or the blind world. We have heard that West was saying to someone, because basically he's out in, where is he right now? He's doing like something for work. So he's traveling right now. I think it's Indianapolis, if I'm not mistaken. I could be mistaken, but he has traveled somewhere for work, and he made his first 2 posts about it. One is just him giving like, a peace sign, and another one is like a post that's work related for something that he's doing. But wherever he is, he has been seen like lounging around in the sun, not having a care in the world, and apparently saying things like, but like, why is it bad to date your ex of 2 years ago's friend? Ciara cares about everything. Are you kidding me? Like, if he really said this, then I am just like dumbfounded because, dude, you had such words for Jesse Solomon for wanting to date your ex of 2 years ago or wanting to make out with your ex of 2 years ago. So for you to say Ciara cares about everything, well, dude, you cared about the exact same thing. Now, this is something that we already kind of know, but I just want to clarify it with this girl, Mia, who is Wes' like girl, the one that he was apparently with for like 2 years, which doesn't make sense to me because how could he be with someone for 2 years, allegedly telling her that all of these other girls that he's seen with aren't serious and it's just for TV or I don't even know. But this message says, Anon, Mia is the reason West broke it off with Ciara. They had been seeing each other, people, and she decided she didn't like that, so he broke it off. Since then, he's been telling her everything is for publicity. All of us in Bozeman have known for years. They're very publicly dating whenever in town. Whenever in town. I mean, that doesn't sound like, that sounds like a situationship, if I'm being honest, right? She stayed with Jesse, Ben, and West in November during the college rival game. So it sounds like all of the others know who she is. And then Jesse Solomon has also been getting some flack for saying that he already knew about this. He was on an episode of Casual Chaos, which is Gia Giudice's podcast, and he said that wait, I'm trying to see. She said, like, can you give us anything on West and Amanda? Now, this was recorded before their statement, but this is when we were still wondering. And Jesse said, I've asked both of them, and they have told me that it's not true. So I trust my friends. Jesse stated, clearly unaware of his co star's budding romance. And then, it just sort of, to me, though, I believe that he's aware of this, right? Like, it just really makes sense to me. He also wrote in an April 1st Instagram comment that I've heard the rumors, but they were denied to me multiple times. Well, I believe that I told you guys that Zach Wickham from the Valley said that Jesse Solomon told someone's cousin that told Zach that he was fully aware of it. I mean, these are all like word of mouth things, so who really, really knows, to be honest? And this is another Dumois line that came up. It said, my boyfriend is in the group chat with West. Really? Wow. He's upset with his castmates for piling on, disappointed with Ciara for not condemning the death threats, knows he's going to be okay with Bravo because they gave traitors to Tom Sandoval. Are you kidding? Like, is this true? Is that why he's not upset? Because he thinks that this is going to be good for him? Because that's the part of this that I really wasn't understanding. I was like, how can he be so nonchalant about all of this and not freaking out when he was so worried about like losing his career or losing like the fame and the stardom after his first season and the way that he acted, right? That's why he was so quiet the second season that he was on. And now he feels like, oh, okay, you can do these shitty things and be a shitty man because Bravo gives opportunities to shitty men. That is true, but I do not believe he's going to end up on the traitors for this. Like, he's not as well known as Tom Sandoval. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. And what's something else that I wanted to tell you guys here? Oh, it was about Ciara. So Ciara was hosting for the Euphoria premiere, which I am so excited is back. I'm going to play a clip of Ciara talking to Sydney Sweeney about the premiere, but also about this. Okay, hang on. I've got this right here.
Friend,
Okay, wait, here you go.
I mean, if you steal your friend's ex-boyfriend, it's not good. What do you think is the next step? I feel like you ought to get married. I mean, I would hope so. You got to make it worth. You got to make it worth that. Like, make it worth something. Yeah, not just worth too much pain. Yeah.
Okay, love that she talked to Sydney Sweeney about that. That is fucking epic. And literally to say, like, what's the next step? You ought to get married. I said the exact same thing. If you're not making this worth it, like, if this is really just a situationship, to lose your friends and your brand deals and all of it for a situationship, it makes no sense. So they better be trying to make this worth it, meaning they better get fucking married out of all of this because that is the only way that makes this thing okay. If you two were like somehow meant to be together, which I really highly doubt. Then this article came out today from TMZ, which I was just like blindsided by because I really didn't think we were going to get any more information, especially coming from Amanda. So this story says that Summer House stars Amanda Petula and Wes Wilson aren't sweating the chatter about their relationship. In fact, TMZ has learned they're leaning all the way in. Sources with direct knowledge tell TMZ, despite speculation, Wes has been seeing other women that couldn't be further from the truth. We're told he's been fully committed to Amanda since when, like 2 weeks ago, and showing up as a supportive partner behind the scenes. When? He's been traveling for work while she's been home, like being worried about her mental health. Okay. Our sources say the noise is largely driven by fan assumptions and social media narratives painting Wes as a playboy. No, man, we've been getting all these Dumois blinds, okay? With even innocent interactions like chatting with fans getting twisted into something more. No, there weren't any blinds about him chatting with fans. Anyway, bottom line, Amanda isn't bothered. We're told she trusts West and feels confident in their relationship. The two are still going strong and building things without letting outside opinions interfere. I'm shocked. I am shocked. I really didn't peg Amanda as this stupid. I really didn't. I've been doing some rewatching and I mean, there's lots of things that I'm picking up on. One of those being, this is separate from like Wes and Amanda, but Amanda and Kyle were actually pretty decent last season in season 9. And a lot of that had to do with the fact that he was coming home earlier. He was drinking less. He was doing all of the things that she wanted. Yes, he had just started DJing, but it wasn't like a career thing yet. And so he literally said, "We have been communicating so much better because we are giving each other what we want." And then at the end of that season is when he decided to create DJing as like a fucking career. And that's what just sent everything in the shitter again, because it really just creates that same cycle of mistrust that she's had this whole time, where she's like, you go and drink and then you black out and you don't remember what happens and then you cheat on me, or I get rumors that you're cheating on me. And something that I feel is really interesting that we see on the season is that every time she mentions cheating, he doesn't deny it. Like, I know he admitted to one time, but like she's implying that there's many times. She's implying that every time he goes out, there's the chance that he's cheating on her or he's cheating on her. Like she really does say that, and he really doesn't say anything back. I don't know if that's because that's his admission to it or because he truly does not know if he has cheated on her or not because he cannot remember. But I say all of that to say I really just didn't peg Amanda as this stupid. Like she seems to be aware of, like, just because she's with Kyle doesn't mean she's dumb. She knows the dumb parts of Kyle. She knows the good parts of Kyle. She's been able to give her friends really good advice about their relationships. So what the fuck is she doing? I mean, we all get blind with love, right? I mean, that happens to the best of us, but it's just really baffling to me that she's willing to give it all up for like a guy who's never had a girlfriend, to be completely honest with you, right? So it's just baffling. All right, so we got the trailer today for In the City, which is the Summer House spinoff. So basically, what we're probably going to end up getting is April 23rd, we'll get the first part of the reunion. Wait, April 23rd. Oh, that's just when they're filming it. That's right. Okay. So I think we have 6 more weeks of show, which means 14th, 21st, 28th, 5th, 6th, 19. And they are airing In the City. Have they given us a date for this yet? They just said premiering this May. I think it's May 19th is the date that they said. So that gives us, well, I guess that means we're either going to go right from reunion into the show, which makes sense because that's how all of these other shows have sort of been aired out, right? We've had the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills episode transitioning into an episode of Vanderpump Rules. We have an episode of Vanderpump Rules transitioning into an episode of Summer House. We have an episode of Vanderpump Rules transitioning into an episode of The Valley. So I assume the same thing will happen here. Now, I am pleasantly surprised that there are a whole bunch of people on this cast. Like, I really thought this show was just Kyle, Amanda, and Lindsay. And I was just like, well, what is the point of this show now? We've got 2 people who are divorced. So what does that even mean for In the City season 2? Because this show isn't supposed to be about divorce. That's sort of what Summer House is in a sense, if you think about it, because In the City is supposed to be the next chapter. We're getting married, we're having babies, we're doing all of that. But if you're going to regress from that and you want to go, I guess, you're not married anymore and you're kind of going back to the dating life, well, that's Summer House, right? So that's why I feel like that didn't make sense. And then I knew that Lindsay wasn't going to show us her baby or her baby daddy because of, him being so private. So I was just like, well, the show is dead in the water. What are we even doing here? But then we got the trailer today. So I'm going to play you guys the audio of the trailer and then we can chat about it. Here we go.
I promise to make you proud, to make you laugh, probably make you cry.
You had a kid with a guy after 2 months.
It sounds like you're judging me.
Blog called me a homewrecker.
Is that true?
Go yourself.
To Yvonne and Nick.
Nick, are you married to Yvonne or not?
Yes.
That's not what you said at boys' night.
Bombshell news. Summer House's Kyle and Amanda have broken up.
So what happened?
Are you ready for this?
This season on In the City.
Milk's night out.
Did that guy just burp on me?
Summer should be fun. Even in the fall.
Hey, cutie.
Hey, Mandy.
We're all trying to figure out how to be real life adults finally.
Want to borrow some pants?
My children eat dog treats.
I don't even know what kind of condoms to get. Ask your ChatGPT.
What do people wear these days?
But we're basically tripping everywhere we go.
I could faint over Botox in my ass.
In your butt?
It's called butt talk.
I want to put a baby in you.
I get sore too.
Once you guys are done, he lifts you up.
Like a prosciutto.
Can't believe my stuff's gonna be here this week.
She moved across the country before the ring.
I'm getting I hate men vibes.
I got you a little something.
You know what that's called? Manipulation.
You can only get pregnant for 12 hours.
I thought about our conversations around having a baby.
Something that I've wanted my entire life, a family, that was taken away from me. I'm choosing partners that continue to abandon me.
And it's made me feel like I should be ashamed.
I've never been happier in my entire life. Meanwhile, he has a whole ass wife still.
Lindsay, it's the internet sleuth on my man.
Christ!
I'm also still mad that you wore a white dress at my wedding.
It's pink, you bitch.
Everyone bows down to Lindsay, and I'm sick of watching it.
You're supposed to be my best friend, and you treat me like shit.
Stop running your mouth. Then leave right now because you're talking to a wall. I'm not a wall.
You moved your whole life here for him. I will move it right back out.
Have you been lying to me for years? You're the Bernie Madoff of hospitality.
Who was in our apartment last night while I'm asleep? You know how many times you cheated on me?
I think is wrong. Lay off me, dude.
I'm in tears watching my friends demolish their relationship.
You don't have a prenup, but if you come for me, I'll come for you.
That'd be a losing battle.
Are you threatening me?
I have a baby daddy, an ex-fiance. I absolutely need therapy.
Everyone needs therapy.
Especially in New York.
We're all
In the City. New series May 19th on Bravo and streaming on Peacock.
But you guys, this looks incredibly epic. First of all, I am absolutely convinced that they added in this scene of Wes and Amanda into the trailer since the announcement was made, since they came out with their joint statement, because there is absolutely no reason to put this in. I mean, obviously, I guess he is going to have a second in the show or something. Otherwise, there'd be nothing to show. But to have it in the trailer, to me, meant everything, right? For him to be like, hey, Mandy, and her to be like, hey, cutie. It's really just trying to lead us in the direction of something's going to happen between these two. I don't think we're going to see it in the city, but this is wild. Another thing we have here is another Bachelor Nation alum. So we have Whitney Franzway, who I sort of recognize, but I wasn't quite sure. She was from Nick Viall's season. And now we have Ashley I transferring over from Bachelor Nation to Rhode Island. We have Sally Carson, who transferred from Bachelor Nation to Southern Hospitality, then Southern Charm. So not against it, but basically let's go through the cast bios that they've put on Bravo's website. So it says Amanda Batula. Amanda is focusing on finding balance between her personal life and professional ambitions while the demise of her marriage is front and center. And I mean, I guess they couldn't deny it, right? Like, you know, this obviously has all been put together after the fact, like after their divorce announcement. So it makes sense for them to say that. Kyle Cook. Kyle has always been the life of the party, but with Loverboy under unprecedented financial pressure. Unprecedented? Isn't it always under financial pressure? So how can it truly be unprecedented? Anyways, he's scrambling to keep the business afloat. What started as a DJing to boost visibility and fill the monetary gap has quickly become a second career. No way. Nobody saw that coming. Lindsay Hubbard. After a decade of summering in the Hamptons, Lindsay Hubbard enters a new chapter as a fiercely independent single mom. Rebuilding life on her own terms and rediscovering herself, Lindsay balances mommy time with intentional return to dating, leaning on those closest friends along the way. Now, from what we can see from the trailer, I really feel like Lindsay is that girl. She is the boss bitch. She is the one who is leading this show. And because she knows how to do reality TV, and a lot of her friends don't necessarily, I feel like she's going to try to be educating them in addition to playing herself, right, during this season. What I thought was really interesting to see was the way that some of the others talked about her. We saw Whitney and Yvonne saying that she isn't a good friend and that she's sort of like the leader of the group. Yvonne is an interesting one to me, and we'll get to her in a minute. Well, let's start with Nick and Yvonne. So, um, after nearly a decade together, Nick Barber, a furniture entrepreneur known for his charm and goofball energy, finally proposed to Yvonne Major, a former vice president of marketing at a high-profile nightlife empire, now redefining success beyond the velvet rope after an unexpected layoff. While their marriage appears solid, underlying tensions about having children start to surface. Yvonne leans on her bestie Lindsay for support, and Nick weighs the pressure of career and financial uncertainty as they decide if they're ready to truly start a family. So Yvonne is someone that I have seen around Lindsay for years. If you literally look at any picture of Lindsay at any event, she's always got this girl by her side, and it's this girl Yvonne. I've never seen her say anything until this, trailer. So I never really knew what her role was in Lindsay's life or what she sort of sounded like. But listening to just a little bit from the trailer, it sort of seems like she is afraid of Lindsay. And I am worried for Lindsay that she may end up losing friends as a result of this show. Sometimes that happens, right? Like, you got to put yourself out there in a way that you're not expecting to, maybe. And maybe this girl Yvonne just doesn't have a real sense of what that's going to look like. And I just feel like there's a big possibility that when Lindsay is out there, quote unquote, during her job of reality TV, she is going to possibly hurt some of her friends in the process, possibly Yvonne. So I guess we'll have to see. Then we have this girl, Georgina Fursley. She is a sought-after dermatologist and medical director of two thriving practices. Wow. Georgina is preparing to launch her own skincare line while navigating single motherhood after a painful split. With her best friend and client, Lindsay, she faces the realities of raising children in New York, dating, and managing a complicated relationship with her ex. Okay, well, this person sounds great because it sounds like she's living a very similar life to Lindsay. So it sounds like they'll be able to bounce a lot of things off of each other. Plus, having this contentious relationship with an ex, like drama, yes, please. Okay, then we have Whitney Fransway and Kenny Martin. Former model and social media influencer Whitney Fransway left Los Angeles for New York City to move in with her boyfriend, Kenny Martin, a self-made real estate investor and venture capitalist after less than a year of dating. After appearing on The Bachelor, Whitney's always been a romantic at heart, willing to take big risks for love, while Kenny, Kyle's friend and lover boy investor, is the blunt truth teller who's never afraid to challenge those closest to him. As their relationship deepens and Kenny grapples with the recent passing of his mother, they must confront their mismatched timelines. Ooh, timelines. It's all about a timeline when it comes to Lindsay. Okay, Danielle Oliveira and Eoin Heavy. I don't know how to pronounce this guy's name. Eoin, Eoin. So I have seen Danielle about town with this man. I knew she had a boyfriend, posting lots of pictures with this guy, but I did not know that she was going to be a mainstay on this show. I didn't even know she was filming for it. So I am jazzed. Listen, I know you guys hate the founder and CEO, but she is great TV, okay? She is so ridiculous. She embarrasses herself all the time. Trust me, you want Danielle. So it says, trading in Hampton Summers for new adventures, Danielle Oliveira is madly in love with Eoin Heavy, and their whirlwind romance is moving at lightning speed. Now living together, they're navigating their fast-paced love story with the demands of building Eon's hotel tech startup, Maitre, and Danielle's new dynamic with former bestie Lindsay. As skepticism from the group surrounds, they're quickly finding out if they can handle the mounting pressure. So what it seems from the trailer is that this man is married, which is kind of funny to hear from Amanda being like, this guy has a whole ass wife. And it's like, Amanda, do you really care about cheating? But I would assume that this guy is separated and that's what's going on here. Also, apparently, Danielle wore a white dress to Yvonne's wedding, what she is claiming is pink. So we're going to have to get more there. And that is such perfect housewife discourse that I really look forward to dissecting to the nth degree. Then we have Gavin Mosley. He is a fixture in NYC nightlife, launching a string of successful bars and speakeasies frequented by friends and celebrities alike, including his close friend Kyle. A quintessential New York bachelor, he thrives in the party scene and avoids settling down despite an on and off again relationship. As his best friend Kenny grows more serious about love, cracks in their bromance may be inevitable. Okay. And then Andrea Denver and Lexi Sundin. So we obviously know them from Winter House and Summer House. Love us some Andrea, so fucking hot. Fresh off their first year of marriage, Andrea Denver and his wife Lexi Sandine had settled back in New York after months of traveling. At 34, with his parents in Italy, Andrea feels the pressure of time to start the family he's always wanted. But beneath Lexi's calm exterior lies some of her biggest unanswered questions about their future. They must decide whether their dream home in Italy will remain a vacation retreat or become a forever home. Though deeply in love, their vision for what comes next might not align. Okay, so are you telling me that their biggest problem is trying to decide whether their house in Italy should be a vacation home or a forever home? You guys shut the fuck up with this, okay? I'm so sorry that you're so rich and that you have all of these options for homes. That sounds amazing. I want to know nothing else about this. Okay, and then Katie Arundel, who I believe is Amanda's best friend, and it was Katie's wedding that Amanda and Kyle met Ben through, and they were skinny dipping at. So Katie Arundel is dependable, warm, and as her childhood best friend, one of the few people Amanda fully trusts. Katie's unafraid to challenge Kyle in a way only a ride or die could. She's fiercely loyal, but that doesn't come without complications, as Katie is also close with Danielle, who doesn't always see eye to eye with Amanda. That sounds pretty cool, too. I like the idea that we've got people here who are commingled or intermingled between the group. So all of this to say, I'm excited because even if we do lose our core three in the same way that we lost Jax Taylor on the Valley, I still feel very confident that we're going to get a pretty good show out of this and that there is still legs here without our main players. I'm not saying the main players are necessarily going anywhere, but we're kind of mad at them right now. So I guess we'll have to see what happens with them. But I just feel like there's at least enough else here for us to be interested in. So all hail in the city, May the 19th. All right, let's recap last night's episode. We'll do our mini recaps. We'll talk our main themes and main plot points and just get that shit out of the way. So Ben decides to bring Sabrina, the girl he has been talking about all summer, to Lindsay's housewarming. Now, I have been skeptical about this for a minute because the way Ben first explained Sabrina to us was that they were dating before he came to the Hamptons. They'd only been dating for 2 weeks. Then she said, I love you. And he was like, whoa, I'm going to the Hamptons. Do you want to wait for me? And she was like, no, what kind of person would do that? Then he decides, okay, I actually want to be with her. I do love her, which is a very like Lexi and Andrea of him, right? Like it's not so crazy for him to realize over time, hey, maybe this person and I are meant to be together. But it was the weird way that he decided he wanted to bring her to Lindsay's housewarming, where he's like, can I get a +1? And Lindsay's like, for who? And he's like, well, I'm just trying to see if something will happen. Like he had already planned for Sabrina to come to this housewarming without having spoken to her, like, based on our understanding of their relationship, they probably weren't speaking. Like he basically said, like she was upset, right? She was in love with me. I ended things and came to the Hamptons. So the odds that he was going to ask her to this housewarming, she'd pick up the phone, that the number wasn't even blocked. Because even think about Andrea and Lexi. She had blocked him for a while, right? It wasn't that easy for him to get back in. It just seems very, very easy and convenient for Ben to be like, okay, now I'm ready for Sabrina. Hopefully she'll talk to me. Oh yeah, she just answered the phone and it was no problem. And then she came to Lindsay's in the very same week. It just feels a little unlikely. Also, when she gets there, she is fangirling so hard over everyone, over Ciara. She's just like, oh my God, I feel like we're kindred spirits. I just feel like I know you. And I just feel like we have this energy together. And it's like, Jesus. And I'm like, this person talks a lot, like a lot. I just expected when someone brings a new person on the scene as a partner, I always see that person be very quiet. That is just what I've seen before. So I don't know. I could be wrong. Some people out there are liking her. I just felt like she was a lot. And I hate to say that. I hate to call a girl a lot because I'm a lot, but she's just a lot for me. And I'm allowed to determine how much I need, right? Now, she also apparently knew everything about everybody's relationships and everything that's been going on in the house. And that's another reason why I believe that she and Ben have been together this whole time, because the level of detail that she knew about Amanda's marriage made Amanda question like whether Ben was keeping a journal or something, because it just really seemed like this girl knew a lot. And you know how little Amanda's put off by people. Like she wasn't even put off when Bailey said that she and Ben had sex or should have sex or whatever. She kind of like lets a lot just kind of flow off her back or whatever the saying is. But even she was like, this girl is a lot. So we move on to Ciara and her grandparents, and you know how she's buying her grandparents' house. She talks about how she had moved to a bunch of different houses when she was young. She moved to like five different houses, but her grandparents' house was always just the one house. And so this home always felt like home to her because it was always there. So we see her renovating the place, and honestly, I would love to see her on HGTV. Like that would be so cool. Later in the episode, we see Ciara and her mom going for coffee. And I don't know, it was kind of a jump scare for me because I'm like, have we met Ciara's mom before? And I don't think we have, right? Like we've had Ciara talk about her mom in the sense that they're very close, but then she's also talked about her mom in the sense that they're not speaking because she was upset with who her mother was picking as partners. And that was, I don't know, like causing a rift, I guess, between them. So it was really nice to see her and her mom be able to go for a coffee together. I really love how much Ciara is opening up and how much more we're getting from her. And it's not like I didn't think it existed before. I guess production maybe wasn't as interested in her storylines, but she is a main player on the show. She's not an OG, but like she basically is at this point. So, like, give her a storyline, let her talk. So, she talks about how New York is great, but she wants to raise a family outside of New York. She wants to do it where there's more land. And we know what Ciara wants. We always have. She wants a family. She wants kids. She wants a husband. We know exactly what Ciara is looking for. So the fact that any man is trying to fuck with that is beyond me to, that's just what I have to say on that regard. Anyways, she talks about her dad and how he doesn't know that she bought the house. So basically she had to start an LLC, put it in a different name. Then her dad had to go to court with her realtor and like battle it out, but then she won the house. So I don't know if it's supposed to be like this big surprise kind of thing where like her dad seemingly was mad initially thinking that somebody else bought his father's house only then to find out it's Ciara, I guess. But she does remind us that she hasn't talked to him in 4 years, which is a long time and which makes it feel like, okay, this is something that could end up being contentious because she even says like sometimes her dad misconstrues her intentions and she hopes that he doesn't when it comes to the house. I don't see how he could misconstrue them if she makes it super clear that this house is for the family. This house is for everyone. This is something that I want to continue on in my grandparents' legacy and in their name because this is something that they really wanted to do. I think it can only bring their family closer together, right? I mean, once her dad finds out that she did this for them, I feel like it's going to be such a game changer. I mean, one of the biggest issues that Ciara had with her dad ever was not being there for her, especially as a teenager, especially in her formative years. And so now she's going to be there for him, right? And she's going to do something for the family in a different way. And I hope that he really like has I don't know if you want to call it this, but like a come to Jesus moment and really like sits down and apologizes to his daughter for everything that he's done. And I hope that they really get to a good place because Ciara deserves to have a beautiful family. I hope I hope that this is sort of like that missing piece that helps bring them all together. So we have Mia, Amanda, and Lindsay going to lunch together. Amanda talks about how she recently forgot Kyle's birthday. Oh, God, Amanda. I mean, Kyle's an idiot, but it's his birthday. You can even see that she's making a joke of it where she's like, oh, I had a headache. I asked him to walk the dogs. I didn't even say, happy birthday. Can you walk the dogs? I just went right into like, hey, can you go do this? And so it's just getting worse and worse. But she kind of feels like the idea that they are going to go to couples therapy is something. Kyle also feels really hopeful about it. Amanda on her end feels like it's kind of their last hope because she's like, if you can't pay someone to fix you, then how can you really get fixed? And it's like, I don't really think that's how it works. And then we get some information on Mia and her boyfriend, Scott. So this is interesting. We know that he travels a lot for work. We do get a sighting of him in this episode at Lindsay's housewarming, so we know he exists. But basically, she gave Scott a contract where he can only be away for 10 days at a time. And she gives a really good reason for this because she's like, listen, both of my parents have died. I was really close with my mom. And if I get married and have kids, it takes a village. And I don't have a village, right? So we need to be able to afford a village. But I also don't want to feel like a single mom in my relationship. But I also want to be able to afford to hire someone who can help me out. That being said, she doesn't want to, feel like a single mom. So she needs him to be around more so that when they are raising kids, she isn't doing it on her own, because they don't have this village, right? So she talks about how she misses her mom. They were like best friends, and how for her having a child will basically almost heal her. And I think when she said that, it had a lot to do with how she felt about her mom. And Lindsay looked at her with like a true look of understanding, I felt like. And maybe that's something that Lindsay also feels that we haven't really heard Lindsay necessarily communicate. But Lindsay explains that, you know, she gets it. Her family lives in Florida. She doesn't talk to her mom. And so she also has to rely on nannies and things like that. Mia says that she's worried about being a single mom in her marriage, which completely makes sense. And so she just feels like having Scott around more when she has a family would be the true game changer. But if he's not capable of doing that, then she can't really see herself having a family with him. Now, I actually think that Mia and Amanda have a lot in common, but we don't get into that at all because the whole issue with Scott is that he works too much and he travels for work. And it's taking a real toll on their relationship. And how is he supposed to be a dad if he's never around? And that's literally what Amanda is going through. So I think it's really interesting that they don't really get into that or connect on that whatsoever. I mean, obviously, Mia and Lindsay are connecting on the fact that Lindsay's a mom, Mia wants to be a mom, neither of them have moms, and they get into that whole deal. But the idea that Amanda and Kyle are very similar to Mia and Scott in terms of how their relationship is sort of playing out in terms of their partner being gone all the time, which is a term that I just learned recently called bar widow, apparently. So Ashley Canetti from the Real Housewives of Rhode Island, she brought this up in the second episode of Rhode Island, how it's apparently a colloquial term about how a woman who spends a lot of time at home without her husband because the husband is always working at the bar or at some other late night establishment. And so she's alone all the time. So that's what reminds me of what Mia and also Amanda are kind of talking about in their relationship. So it's interesting that they kind of just don't play into that and we don't get to hear them kind of talk about their similarities in that regard. And then the last thing that happens in this episode, which really pissed me off, to be quite honest with you, is the fact that Kyle didn't text Carl about the anniversary of the passing of his brother, but posted for Lindsay's birthday, which happens to fall on the same day. So Carl ends up venting to the guys about it on their drive up to the house. And he's like, it really hurt me because he knows the anniversary of my brother's passing. He never misses it. He is my best friend. So for him not to mention that, but then to post for Lindsay's birthday just seems, it's upsetting, right? Like, this is my best friend. So West goes to talk to Kyle about this at some point, who just makes all these stupid excuses like, I had to pack and I had to do laundry. And West tells him to apologize, as West is wont to do lately. It's funny because we're mad at West and we think he's an immature, stupid man baby. But at the same time, he is sort of giving Kyle good advice in the past couple of weeks. So I do sort of have to give him that. And he tells Kyle, you got to go apologize, but do not mention the laundry. So Kyle does end up apologizing to Carl and says that he's spaced. And Carl is very open and honest with him about how much this hurt. He's like, I was really disappointed in you and I feel disconnected in our friendship, which means Carl is saying this isn't just like a one-off situation. I feel like something bigger is going on here. I feel disconnected from you. I feel like we're not as close. And then Kyle just flips it around like he always fucking does, the same way he does with Amanda. And he's like, well, you don't invite me to things. So he's basically like blaming Carl when we heard Carl talk about this at the beginning of the season to Ciara, where he's like, Kyle was off doing some DJ gig at like Penn State, and I went with him just to wingman him so that I could spend time with him. And I even saw him doing that in Toronto. There was literally one time where Kyle was here to do a DJ gig, and Carl came with him just to wingman him so that they could spend time together. So it's really annoying that Kyle isn't able to take in what people are telling him, even though these things are very true. Like, Carl makes a really good point to the boys later. He's talking to Jesse and Ben and some of the others, and he's just like, who does he even have left? If he were to end up losing me, who would he have, right? And it's so true because at the beginning of the season, when he was sitting outside of the front door with Carl, talking shit about Amanda and Ciara for interrupting his speech on the first dinner on the first night, he's like, I don't have anyone. I'm all alone. And it's like, Carl is sitting right next to you. He's treating Carl like a punching bag in a sense because he's treating him as like, oh, you're just my friend who's always going to be there. You don't need or deserve any attention in that regard. And you don't need or deserve any true friendship. You're just there. Well, no, that's not how friendship works. Carl is not just always going to just be there, okay? So it's really, really unfair. Carl tells the camera that he held back saying "fuck you" to Kyle because without him, who does Kyle have? And it's very, very true. So we end the episode with Ben telling some of the crew on the way to the house that Amanda told Sabrina that a lot of people in the house think that he has a crush on her. And he gets super annoyed about it, like he did with Bailey and the Amanda thing. And he starts kind of like humming and hawing like a baby, almost like a child throwing a temper tantrum, just being like, well, now me and Kyle and Amanda aren't going to be able to go for like double dates anymore because she did this. And now I'm like, I don't like it. I'm annoyed. And now I have to talk to her about it. And so we see the episode end with him starting to have this conversation with her. And I don't disagree with him. I that is a weird thing for Amanda to say. And obviously Ben is in a place where he's trying to convince this girl, Sabrina, that he only has eyes for her. But the very tantrumy way that he communicates his disdain gives me disdain for him, I have to say. All right, you guys, that is the end of the episode. I hope that you enjoyed it. Follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads at The Bravo Investigator. You can also subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is linked in the show notes, as well as the Facebook group. And guys, starting on April 10th, in 2 days, I'm starting a new podcast. It is called All You Need Is You, a guide to living your best solo life. This is not a podcast that I'm doing instead of the Bravo Investigator podcast. I am still doing both, so don't you worry. But I just wanted to let you guys know that it is coming wherever you get your podcasts, effective this Friday. If you're one of those people who want some tips or tricks or advice or want to listen to stories or interviews about living on your own. So I hope you guys check that out. And I love you, BBs. I will see you next time. Thank you for listening to the Bravo Investigator podcast. For more content, head over to patreon.com/the Bravo Investigator podcast. Follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads at The Bravo Investigator. If you enjoyed the show, leave a 5-star review. Love you, BB. See you next time.